What's up, Wargamers? Welcome to the meditations for the most recent game of Star Wars Shatterpoint, and oh my goodness, I think it's been a long time since I played a game where I just felt like I had no agency whatsoever.
Yeah.
That was rough. Like it felt like my dice weren't necessarily bad, but because of the mechanics of the game, they weren't doing much for me.
No, and honestly, they were kind of just bad.
Well, no, because I was actually getting lots of successes. I was getting lots of hits, right?
Sure.
But the problem was that I wasn't getting any of the crits to force through the damage, and you were rolling some.
Yeah, on my end, I mean the Bo-Katan or the Clan Kreese Mandalorians, they did way more work than I had any right to this game.
Yeah, so and that's just kind of it. Like my dice were not below the curve as far as like actual successes were going. It's just the mechanics were basically saying no, you don't get to engage with it, right?
Yeah.
And that was rough. That was really rough. I felt like I had very little agency in this game, and so many times I would lean into one of your characters and leave them on like 1 or 2 stamina remaining.
Yeah, you did that to I think the Super Commandos once or twice, and the Clan Kreese as well.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like the Mandos just carried you this whole game.
The Clan Kreese specifically and the Super Commandos did a great job as well every turn.
Absolutely. Like I can't fault it. Your Mandos did great work. You made all the right moves. Like I don't think you had a bad turn with your Mandos at all.
No, I stand by the worst turns of this game were Asajj because she just had to move, and that wasn't even bad. It was just boring.
Yep.
And Maul because he left Ahsoka alive, and that was slightly less great, but also I still flipped the point with him. So like even then it wasn't bad. It was just nobody underperformed.
Yeah, and I mean there's so many instances where just a slightly better dice result would have like kept the game going, right? Like if the B1s had done just one more success.
Yep.
Right? You know, the Clan Kreese go down. If Anakin was just slightly more successful, you know, some more damage over there. So yeah, it's kind of the story of this game, and I'm not gonna lie, but the mechanics of the game make it hard to kind of be excited about the game.
No, for sure.
And I mean, if you're one of those people watching this and you are still excited about the game, all the power to you. That's great. I'm very happy about that. But it's just, I don't know. It feels like a lot of games. It just snowballs so out of control, and just coming back from it is just really difficult, right?
Yeah, this one was really one of those games where it's like towards the late game, even just going into Struggle 2, like usually Struggle 2 heavily favors the player who lost Struggle 1. But going into Struggle 2 here, you were on such a back foot where most of your models were still near your deployment line. I had kind of all of the middle of the board already pretty well controlled.
Almost every one of your attacks had a shove, right? Yeah. Like I was just getting pushed around left, right, and center.
Well, and that was the big thing. And the worst part about that is like my shoves are relatively far in on some of these trees. I was just getting them.
No, I just got friggin' rocked, and like it was one of those things where it's like, okay, I feel like there's a path here. Nope, I just failed to kind of like get the dice results I needed for it.
Well, then even like Anakin having to burn 2 attacks to finish off. I think it was the Super Commandos at one point.
I think you rolled like 3 defense, and then you like rolled into like 2 more defense on your expertise or something.
Yeah, they ended up surviving on exactly like 1 or 2 health, and then you had to burn 2 force to finish the job there, which is rough. You know, obviously you made sure you had the force to do it because there was a world where it happened, but
that was the thing. Like I felt like all my resources weren't going as far as yours in a lot of cases. But yeah, like this is weird. I lost the game to supports.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and that's that's rough.
The Clan Kreese Mandos and like the Kreese were exceptional because they did
for sure.
They did so much work, but also the Super Commandos did what they needed to do every turn.
Yeah, and that's kind of what it came down to. Like when your Mandos activated, like you had great options to do them.
Yeah.
You moved to where they needed to go to get the most impact. You got the results you wanted with a lot of cases, and like I'm trying to discuss this with outside of the framework of like those stupid dice. Just kind of
there was definitely some stupid dice here
because you made the right calls. Like you absolutely were making the right calls throughout the course of this game. So like you were able to reinforce your good decisions. You were able to reinforce your curve on your rolls and all this sort of stuff. And Oh man, I don't think I've had a shellacking this hard in this game for a little bit.
Yeah, that was a rough one.
That was rough. That was rough. I don't even necessarily think it's because my composition was bad.
No, I mean B2s, B1s, and Kalani is already kind of solid, right?
Well, I mean,
Like,
you opened up the game with the Clan Crees coming up and just dummying my B2s, right?
yeah, which was huge because I mean they hadn't even activated yet, which in some ways is a good thing for that.
They had not.
That also meant when they did wake up, they were sitting with conditions on them, and they were still pushed way far back. And that condition, of course, being pinned doesn't help.
Yeah, and it's just kind of rough. Like you were able, like oh my goodness, so much of my team was just sitting on conditions the entire game.
Yeah,
I only got 8 turns. No, 9. Yeah, because it's 7 activations. We got through the deck, and then I got 2 more.
Yeah, and then I got 3.
You got 10. Yeah. So the game was over in basically 10 player turns.
Yeah,
and that was a very swift game.
It was. It was a very quick
swift
game. I mean that is one of the things of Sabotage Showdown is that it has more points turned on in the early struggles, so you flip that first struggle faster. If you can do stuff like what I was able to do and push your back points in struggle 1, you can end struggle 1 very quickly.
Yeah. Now, okay. So here's an interesting thing. I purposely did some different terrain for this particular thing. Like there's not as much verticality. We didn't really use the higher terrain, all that. Do you feel like it actually made a difference?
Definitely. I mean, it's kind of weird because if anything, it actually hindered my models more than helped them. Being all Mandos, they have the jetpacks, so the verticality is kind of something they would excel on versus droids. But like the rest of the factors of the game meant it didn't really end up mattering all that much. But I do think having a board where movement was so unrestrictive allowed some of the things. Again, I had a lot of jumps, so a lot of the things might have been possible anyways, but it didn't have to be Mandos to get the kind of mobility that they had here. Anyone could have, like clones could have done the same thing.
So I'm going to push back a little bit. I actually felt like the difference in terrain, you weren't getting any more or less shots against me. You weren't getting any more or less lines of sight on me. That's kind of what I was getting at, right?
I think it is more that, like, for models that don't have jumps, they would have been easier for them to get in.
It would have been, yeah. So, I mean, for you, it was kind of like a lateral move. Like, not really anything different. For me, it should have actually been a lot better for me.
Yeah,
but I don't feel like I was getting any more shots. And it kind of goes back to one of my complaints with the way the terrain in this game works, where I feel like the terrain is just kind of there.
I think it's a weird decision to not allow you to gain terrain from cover. I mean, we joked about
cover from terrain.
Terrain from cover. No, I'm sticking by what I said.
They should bring that back. I actually agree. I think they should bring that back.
We even called out in one of the earlier turns where I had hunker and happened to be beside a piece of terrain that it benefited me, and it feels like it always should benefit you to hide behind a building. You know?
I mean, think about how much tougher the B1s would have been.
Yeah, right? They would have had cover most of this game.
Even the B2s would have had a bunch of cover as well, right?
It's only 1 extra die, so it's probably not a huge difference in most cases anyways. But
in this game, that 1 extra die would not have made a difference for me. Like, the amount of failures I rolled on my dice were just obscene.
But yeah, it's just one of those things that kind of like, it makes boards like this feel almost like there's no point in actually having the terrain there other than to look cool. And it looks cool.
I'm going to be honest, though. I feel that about even with the denser boards.
That's fair. I think when there's a little more verticality involved, it's better. But
I haven't felt it.
That's fair.
I haven't felt it. I mean, this is purely my own reaction to it. I haven't felt that more terrain has necessarily made things harder to kill. Because line of sight is so easy to get line of sight.
Line of sight is still easy. It's more positioning yourself onto points and stuff that becomes harder.
I would say the only thing that extra terrain I feel really kind of benefits on is it's a little bit harder to be pushed off stuff.
Sure.
But yeah, no, I don't know. I thought it would be interesting. I wanted to try the different terrain layout. I think it makes for an interesting looking board. Yeah. And honestly, I don't think it was the terrain that really made or break either team
No, I don't
here.
think it did either.
So it was just a discussion I wanted to have on that one. But as always, Jason, always have a blast playing with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Even getting my teeth kicked in. God, I have a bad streak on this game. But we'll keep plugging away at it. Maybe with the new original trilogy stuff in the new year.
Yeah,
things will
that'll be
interesting cool. Again. So yeah, leave your comments below, get involved in the discussion, and we'll see you next time. Happy wargaming.